Hey there, it's me Red Knight and welcome back to my channel for a Heyday Valley video. Now as you know from my last video, we're heading off to Venezuela and we've got this beautiful feeding bird decoration. So sit back and enjoy the information as I talk about it in more detail. Now first of all, we know it's going to be a sanctuary valley. This means that you are going to be collecting lots of very heavy animals and then transporting them back to their sanctuary base, thus allowing you to pick up lots of tokens, which will then let you purchase many items in the actual shop itself. Now, in addition to this, you've got the opportunity to drive around a beautiful map. Now, as you start working your way around the map, you'll see lots of buildings. Now, visiting those buildings is kind of cool because it allows you to pick up certain amounts of tokens by actually selling items. Now, please remember there's a lot of in-game events going on at the moment, so there's going to be a bit of a balancing act. However, if you do get enough of the animals and tokens, you get a wonderful opportunity to pick and choose between 3 items in addition to the regular shop. You're going to have the diamonds, you've got diamonds and deco, or you've got boosters. Now all of those can be very nice depending on your preference. I kind of wish that the boosters were super boosters and maybe more diamonds because it feels like you're working a lot harder, but I'm going for the decoration, and the decoration is gorgeous. Now I've based this design on the actual one that Heyday showed us in their dairy news. So I've created a little bit of an area there where you can see a lot of different trees around. You've got that water feature, you've got the pathway coming across, and the actual decoration as a bridge element in the center. And if I do say so, it looks very nice indeed. So it's definitely one that I want to add. But where would you add it? Would it be the farm? Would it be the town? Would it be the sanctuary? Let me know your choices. Right, now this is where I talk about the decoration in more detail. So I've headed on over to Venezuela. I've looked at a variety of different topics on the internet and I've chosen the actual topic that I think would be very cool indeed. So from this part of the video, I'm going to be telling you about the macaws that actually are in Venezuela. So sit back and relax. Macaws of Venezuela. For a momentary respite, head up to the roof of your building to breathe in the outside air. There you can encounter a surprising sight. Dozens of huge colourful macaws gather just before sunset, drawn by a neighbour who feed them. Mesmerised by the majesty of the birds, you will be moved by the scene. Today will begin a daily pilgrimage to the roof as you bask in their splendour, definitely. The birds, which can grow up to 3 feet in length, are a symbol of Caracas, the capital city built in a valley separated from the Caribbean Sea by the Venezuelan coastal range mountains. They frequent rooftops and balconies of countless buildings in search of food, especially considering a lot of people actually feed them out there. So why own a pet, as you'll see later, when you get lots of free birds in the area? Now, people who feed them then tend to flood their social media with lots of photos and imagery of the bright blue, green, yellow and red plumage. And over time, these birds have become a collective mascot of the actual capital itself. So if you ever had a chance to visit this location in Venezuela, do share your social media photos with me. And there's a lot on the internet to look at as well. Now, what makes the Caracas macaws unique is their diversity. So between the macaws, the parrots and the parakeets, and they are all a little different, they have around 17 species flying here. Now, the great thing about the actual article that I was reading, there's a lot of breeding between these actual birds, so the diversity is definitely much greater. Now, this includes 4 macaw species, all native to Venezuela. The Maracana, mostly green, is the smallest and the only one from the central region. The flag macaw, its yellow, blue and red coloration, reminiscent of the national tricolour flag, is originally from the plains and the Amazon region. So, very interesting if I do say so. Now, next bit of information continues with this, and it talks about the red and green macaw, which maintain small populations in the country's east and west. These last 2 have been displaced in the skies of Caracas by the blue and yellow macaw. Now, the actual imagery you've got down there for the Heyday one actually has the blue, yellow, red and green plumage to it. So which one are they based on the information I've already told you? Why not let me know? Now, historically, macaws weren't native to the capital, and it's not entirely clear why they began to nest in the city's palm trees, but their arrival was driven by the pet trade. Entire generations grew up with a parrot, a parakeet, or a macaw at home. Now, some of these escaped and others were released. Now, why would people release these wonderful birds, I wonder? Are pets easy to keep? Let's find out when I give you more information. So when people talk about macaws in the Caracas, they often mention Vittorio Poggi, an Italian immigrant who once rescued an injured blue and yellow macaw. Though Poggi didn't keep the bird captive, it followed him as it rode his motorcycle through the streets of the capital. Poggi became known as the Macaw Boy. Very interesting indeed. Now, an interesting fact that pertains to him relates to what people then did. Now, thanks to this fame, for years many people brought him injured or sick birds, as well as macaw pets they no longer wanted to keep at home for him to take care of. So you've got this gentleman who has this bird, though not a pet, that follows him. The reputation is created. People then bring injured birds and pets to this man to look after. But what did he do? Well, birds are not meant for captivity. The truth is that these birds are terrible to have as pets. They are noisy, they break everything, and they make a mess. Oh yes, I can vouch for that one. I've had birds in the past. A lot of people grab them because they are beautiful, and then when you have a pet like this, the first month is idyllic, but then they can't stand it and they look for ways to get rid of them. And this is where this gentleman was very, very handy indeed, because people used to give him the birds. So for decades, Poggi released into the urban area dozens of these animals that he received from people tired of keeping them at home. This was not the only cause of the macaw's proliferation, but it did partially favor the predominance of the yellow and blue ones. So because people gave them to him, he didn't believe in keeping the birds captive. He released them, and as a result, these birds tended to dwell in the same area. Now, it's unknown how many macaws there are in Caracas, but in 2016 between 300 and 400 yellow and blue ones were counted. Then two things really happened to affect the population. First, there were protests in 2017, and then birds may have been killed because of the tear gas and other disruptions. However, because of the pandemic, they came back to recover empty spaces and the population grew. Interaction with humans is changing the behavior of these birds, so whose populations in their original inhabitants are declining. Part of that involves the caretakers who have a passion for them. They dedicate a lot of their time to them, and this observation makes them experts. So in the wildlife, not as many, but in the city, definitely increasing. What else can I tell you? Well, little is known about how urban living affects the birds, but some changes are visible in the macaws themselves. They are breeding with close relatives, so a lot of inbreeding, and this makes more common mutations that are very, very rare, thus making them collectibles or adding a little bit of diversity to the gene pool, because you get a lot of variety, which then becomes very prolific in itself. Certain mutations common in small cage populations reproduce among themselves, but rare in the wild, such as white coloration, are becoming increasingly frequent in Caracas because the birds don't travel outside the area. So if you actually go to the Caracas area, you'll see a lot of these white birds. Now, this is because of this situation, so now you know a little bit more detail. Another phenomenon is becoming visible, and that's the hybrid macaws, the result of mixing between two different species. One way to recognize a hybrid is the abundance of color, orange for example, unlike the mutants that lose a tone, such as the white ones. So mutants tend to lose their color, but crossbreeding across the different species creates new ones, just like pretty flowers. In general, experts recommend against feeding wild animals. In mangroves and forests, macaws normally have a varied diet and fly long distances. But in the city, the birds eat processed foods, not so good. Bananas or a few types of seeds fed to them, and they tend to be relatively sedentary, which is not so good. You end up with fat birds, unhealthy, and their diet kind of sucks. So please, stop feeding them if you can. The altered diet may in turn impact their reproductive cycles. The abundance of fruit trees in Caracas with the seeds and foods they receive in the rooftops make possible to increase in the population. It's true, we've seen that in humans. The more you feed people, the more children they have. Less food tends to be a little bit more challenging in relation to the population. Now, the animals exist in a grey zone amongst the wild and feral and domestic. Some people consider them pets, others consider them not. But why buy a captive bird when there are macaws flying in the streets? Now, Now, if you're interested in finding out more about the birds, there are some interesting links I put down here. There are also quite a lot of other links and photos and imagery on the internet. I think Heyday has chosen a very, very nice theme based on this one, and I enjoyed looking into these birds, especially learning about the variations and the colors and why that actually happened. Now, that's it for this video. This is the wonderful decoration that Heyday is going to give us. Now, I do like this one a lot. As I said earlier, I think it's going to be very, very beautiful indeed. But how will you use this? I'm looking forward to seeing you all participate in this valley as we work towards getting this decoration. The event will start very, very soon indeed, so good luck with that one. And then start collecting those animals, building up the fuel, and collecting the tokens. Right, that's it for the video, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to support me and the content I do, please do use creator code REDKNIGHT. That's R3DKNIGHT. Additionally, you can also use other content creator codes across any of the Supercell games. And I hope you like some of the new games that are coming out very soon, by the way. In addition to using my code, see a little circle that says subscribe. Click on that, help me towards my next goal of 75,000, then 100. Additionally, watch some of my other videos. But either way, I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye now.